To begin today's storyline, we actually pick up with Miguel O'Hara in the present day. Of course, Miguel O'Hara would be Spider-Man 2099. Now, the reason why he's back in the present day is because something happened in the timeline that basically threatened the life of Tyler Stone, his father. And so when something could possibly happen to his father, that could mean in the year 2099, Miguel O'Hara is not alive. So what he did was he went back in time to basically save his grandfather Tobias Stone, to make sure that his grandfather stay alive to give birth to Tyler Stone, so that Tyler Stone can help give birth to Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099. Now, with Miguel O'Hara being back in the present day, he had to blend in. So he got a job at Alchemax, of course, the company that belongs to his grandfather. And so right now he is pretending to be Mike O'Hara and being the assistant to his grandfather. And so we're seeing him right now just trying to protect his grandfather to make sure that his father is alive and then he can be alive in the future as well. Now, we're going to cover the first issue of this run, and the reason why is because when it comes to Spider-Man 2099, the first issue is really giving us the idea of how Miguel O'Hara is going to live in the present day. But before we are able to actually jump over to him, we have to pick up with the character who just randomly appeared in the present day. And we can tell he is from the future, and the reason why I say that is because when he comes to different people in New York, he begins to look at them and see how they affect the timeline. Do they do good things or bad things in the timeline? And if they do nothing to actually help the human race better, well, he kills them off. And so with that, this dude kills off like 2 or 3 people before he begins his mission to go hunt down Spider-Man 2099, aka Miguel O'Hara. Now, speaking of Miguel O'Hara, we actually see him right now looking at an apartment because, again, he has to blend in. He has to blend in to protect his grandfather. And with him blending in, he's going by the name Mike O'Hara, not Miguel. Now, while he's looking at an apartment, of course, he does see some blood on the ground. And so the person who is showing the apartment, well, she does call up the janitor. Now, when the janitor appears, he comes to find out it is the same young lady that he actually saved in an earlier storyline that we jumped over. Now, of course, he's kind of like, wait a second, this lady I saved, she got mad at me for actually saving her because for some strange reason, she hated the idea of a hero actually protecting her from some thugs. On top of that, she hates the police as well because the police in this area does nothing. But either way, Miguel O'Hara actually likes her and he tries to hit on her, but of course he's so weird and strange that when he does try to hit on her, she's kind of like, dude, please don't try. I'm just here to clean up this blood in your new apartment and I'm going to leave. And then she does. Now, he does learn her name, and her name is Tempest. But with that being said, he's kind of like, Tempest is very intriguing to him. He wants to know what's her deal. Why does she kind of cut him off? And why does she seem like she hates him? But of course, it's Miguel O'Hara being attracted to her and hopefully get close to her because he wants to be with her in some way. Now, getting over to our mysterious character who appeared from the future, we do kind of find out that he's from a year that takes place after the year 2099. So he knows everything that happens in the year 2099 and after that. But with that being said, right now you have this mysterious character looking for Miguel O'Hara because in his timeline he knows that Miguel O'Hara is Spider-Man 2099 and that he traveled back in time and tried to blend in Alchemax in the present day. And so he knows almost everything about Miguel O'Hara to the point that Miguel O'Hara should be somewhere in the building if he's working here as Mike O'Hara. And so you have our new mysterious villain just kill some front office men and then goes up the elevator to begin his search for Miguel O'Hara. But we do actually pick up with Miguel O'Hara right now at work like our new bad guy thought he would, and he is talking to his grandfather Tobias Stone. Now while they're talking to each other, of course, that is the moment the alarms go off, which of course tells Tobias Stone that, hey, listen, there is trouble in the building and we should get into my panic room. Now when I say we, Tobias Stone really meant himself, telling Miguel O'Hara to find somewhere else to hide if there is trouble in the building. And so right when Tobias Stone goes inside his panic room, well, that is the moment our new villain arrives. Now, when our new villain arrives, he does tell Miguel O'Hara what his name is. His name is Totem. Now, it does stand for something, but honestly, the only thing you need to know is that Totem is here to eliminate any mistakes in the timeline. And right now, he sees Miguel O'Hara as a mistake in the timeline because Miguel O'Hara should not be here in this timeline at all. Well, not this moment in time. He should be in the year 2099. But at the same time, of course, with something happened to Tyler Stone, Miguel O'Hara's father, in the timeline that technically makes Miguel O'Hara a double error in the timeline at the moment. And so you have Totem here to basically eliminate Miguel O'Hara because he should not be here at all at this moment in time, but also not even exist anymore. And so right now it's Totem fighting against Spider-Man 2099. Now, you do have Totem tell Miguel O'Hara that he's from the year 2211, which means that his tech is more advanced than Miguel O'Hara's tech. And so right now it's not an easy battle when it comes to Miguel O'Hara trying to defeat this guy named Totem. Now, this fight actually does take Miguel O'Hara and Totem into the office of Liz Allen. Now, that name should be very familiar when it comes to Spider-Man fans, because when it comes to Liz Allen, she was one of the many girls that Peter Parker had a crush on or tried to date it, and she tried to date Peter Parker as well. But she does end up with Norman Osborn and have a couple sons with him. And I want to say at this point, they only had one son together. The second one is not born yet. But either way, Liz Allen actually works in the office of Alchemax as well. And so with her being there, you have her wondering what in the world is going on. Why is Spider-Man fighting against Totem? Now, when Totem sees Liz Allen, he's kind of like, wait a second. Let's make a deal here, Spider-Man, because I know in the timeline with you being here and being around her, you two caused more problems for the timeline. And with y'all two causing more problems in the timeline, how about this? I'll kill her and that will basically deal with your problem. Meaning that I can tell my boss I dealt with Liz Allen so we can back off Spider-Man 2099. Now, when it comes to Miguel, he's kind of like, well, when it comes to Liz Allen, she does give me a hard time, and you're telling me if you kill her, you'll get off my back, which means that I might take up your offer. Now you have Liz kind of like, wait a second, you're really gonna let this man kill me to save your life? What kind of hero are you? But of course, Spider-Man 2099 was lying because he was able to use a blaster that Totem has on Totem himself, which basically sent Totem back into his timeline or possibly kill him. But either way, Spider-Man was able to save Liz Allen and leave the building. Now, right after Spider-Man 2099 leaves, you do have Liz Allen realize something. That if he was here in the building, that means someone who works here must be Spider-Man 2099. And the reason why she says that because the incident began inside the building, not outside the building. So how in the world would Spider-Man have known if something was happening in the building? Which means that it has to be someone who works here. So she tells her assistant to begin to do research on every single employee in the building, which could lead into more problems for Miguel O'Hara at the moment. Now, when we jump into the second issue of this storyline, we actually pick up with Miguel O'Hara being Spider-Man and dealing with a bank robbery. Now, this is very interesting when it comes to the character. And the reason why I say that, because in his comics in the year 2099, he dealt with a lot of more crazier things than he is right now in the present day. Yes, he fought against Totem, someone from a different time who was trying to erase him from the timeline. But the thing is, when it comes to Spider-Man 2099, in the present day, he's dealing with smaller crimes like bank robberies or hijacking, things like that. In the future, he wasn't really doing that much against bank robberies or hijacking. He was fighting against, most times, his super villains back to back to back. And so with him doing that, it is him adjusting to his new life in the present day, trying to get used to the idea that he has to deal with smaller crimes more often. Now, we do see Miguel O'Hara try to hit on that Tempest girl one more time, because he does go over to her apartment and he brings her flowers as a way to say thank you for cleaning up the blood in my brand new apartment. Now, you have Tempest basically tell this man, like, listen, I'm the dude or lady who cleans up the place. So it was my job to get rid of that blood. So I have no idea why in the world you're kind of acting like I just did something really major for you. But again, it is Miguel O'Hara kind of attracted to her. He wants to know why she is so defensive when a hero came to save her. On top of that, why is she so defensive when someone tries to talk to her? What is her deal? Now, while she is getting him some water and trying to be nice to him to once, well, that is the moment he does see her medical bills. And of course, he can tell by her medical bills that something serious is going on with her. And of course, he's very worried about her. So he's kind of like, hey, listen, I saw your medical bills. They're laid out in wide open view, and I can tell that something is wrong with you. So what in the world is wrong with you? Now, with him telling her that, she freaks out, because to her, he's kind of like, you're being nosy. You're being nosy and looking at my medical bills. Yes, they're out there, but you have no right to even gloss over them. And so, of course, she does kick him out of the apartment. Now, you do have Miguel O'Hara actually leave the apartment of Tempest because he was kicked out. And so he does tell his virtual assistant or hologram, Lila, that he wants to know more about what is going on with Tempest, but also that when he gets home to his apartment, he comes to find out that he has a guest. And that guest is Liz Allen, because remember, Liz Allen knows that Spider-Man 2099 has to be an employee in her company Alchemax, and so she had her assistant do research on every single employee. And so when it came to Miguel O'Hara, well, his name is Mike O'Hara, and all his information seems to be kind of sketchy. And so, of course, when she tells him everything she found out about him, he's kind of wondering what in the world should he do. And right now in his head, he's kind of like, listen, I can totally get rid of her if I just throw her out the window and kill her. And that will keep my secret safe. But of course, he does not do that. Now, you do have Miguel O'Hara tell Liz Allen the truth, but not the complete truth. What he tells her is that he is from the future, and he gives her all of the information that she needs to know. That basically right now he's back here in time trying to make sure that nothing happens to his grandfather Tobias Stone, because if something happens to his grandfather, then that means his father will never be born, which of course means Miguel O'Hara will never be born. And so that is why he's here in the present day, and he tells Liz Allen all of that. But what he doesn't tell her is that he is Spider-Man 2099, as a way to kind of make her not think he is. He gave her the truth, but not the complete truth. And he's basically trying to keep her mind off the idea that he could possibly be Spider-Man 2099 as well, with him saying that he is from the future to save his grandfather's life. Now, you would think that this would be the moment that Liz Allen would try to blackmail him. Instead, she kisses him. And you're kind of like, wait, Liz, don't tell me that you're actually attracted to this man. But before she's able to blackmail him or do anything else, she does ask him one question, which is that, does the Cubs win? Of course, he says no, and then she just leaves. Now, to make things even weirder for Miguel O'Hara, well, that is the moment he is greeted by Tempest. Now, when Tempest stops by, she's kind of like, wait a second, you gave me flowers, but when I walk by, you have Liz Allen, this hot blonde girl, leaving your apartment, and there's lipstick on your face, which tells me right now you could possibly be a player or you could be a cheater. But either way, though, you do have Tempest tell Miguel O'Hara what is wrong with her, that she does have some kind of rare cancer going on in her body, and so that is why she has those high medical bills, and that most likely she is going to die in a few months. But she does tell Miguel O'Hara thank you for the flowers, and then she just leaves, which of course now makes Miguel O'Hara wonder what in the world should he do with Liz Allen or Tempest right there, both kind of liking him, or really one of them liking him and one just being intrigued by him. Now, when we begin the third chapter of this storyline, we actually pick up with Miguel O'Hara having a meeting with Liz Allen. And this is the point where you actually have Liz Allen blackmailing Miguel O'Hara, since she now knows that he is from the future. And with her blackmailing him, she tells him that he must go with his grandfather to a country known as Transabal. And in that country, you have a warlord right now buying spider slayers from Alchemax. Now that is huge, because the reason why this country or this warlord is buying the spider slayers is to use against the people who are trying to overthrow the government. And so right now you have Miguel O'Hara not okay with the idea of selling spider slayers over to this country, because this country's government is just using them against their own people. But of course, you have Liz Allen blackmailing Miguel O'Hara to go ahead and go with his grandfather to complete this deal, no matter what he thinks about the deal, because now she knows that he is from the future. Now, on the plane ride there to the country, you do have Miguel O'Hara and his grandfather on the plane talking to one another. Now, this is Miguel O'Hara trying to convince his grandfather that what he is thinking about doing is wrong. It is crazy, because again, this government in this country is evil. They want to use the spider slayers as a way to kill off the people who want to overthrow their country. On top of that, the spider slayers were usually made to fight against Spider-Man, hence the name Spider Slayer. And so right now for Miguel O'Hara, he's kind of like, listen, I don't like this idea at all, because right now you're talking about handing over spider slayers to a country that is completely corrupt and evil to kill the people who are trying to change the country. And so why in the world are you trying to help that country government out? But to Miguel O'Hara's grandfather, Triberis, he's kind of like, listen, money is money, and Alchemax needs the money. So why not would I give them the spider slayers to make us some money? You can get all mad all you want to, but in reality, I'm trying to make us some money. Now here comes the big problem though. When Miguel O'Hara and his grandfather Triberis arrive in the country, well, that is the moment you have some of the people who are trying to overthrow the government begin their attack on Triberis. And the reason why, because they want to capture him, because they got word what he is trying to do, which is sell this country a bunch of spider slayers to use against them. And so right now, this new organization who's trying to overthrow the government in this country is actually able to capture Miguel O'Hara's grandfather. Now, here comes the big problem though. If you're wondering why Miguel O'Hara did not protect his grandfather, well, the reason why, because he was grazed in the head by a bullet. And so, of course, it took him a minute to realize what in the world is going on. And so with him finally able to gather himself and heal up from the graze by the bullet, he realized, oh my God, my grandfather has been kidnapped and I need to keep him alive so that he'll be able to help make my father, and also my father can help make me. So of course he begins his mission to figure out where in the world his grandfather was taken to. Now, we come to find out that his grandfather is not going to be killed. And the reason why I say that because the leader of the group that is trying to overthrow the government appears right in front of Triberus. Now, the leader of this group does have a name, but honestly, she's going to die by the end of this chapter or the next one. Either way, she's going to die. So no matter what, her name is not important. But she does begin the process of trying to change Triberus. Because remember, so far in this video, it seems like this dude only cares about money. He does not care what happens to other people in the world. And so you have the leader of the group that is trying to overthrow the government tell him that what he is doing is wrong. But if he is able to actually call off this deal, then they will let him live. But if he does not, they will cut him up into little pieces and send him back home to America. And so right now it's them kind of saying, hey, you don't have a choice here. You can basically call the deal off and live, or you can try to complete the deal and die. It's up to you. Now, Miguel O'Hara is actually able to find his grandfather, and the reason why, because he knew how much danger his grandfather could possibly be in, and so he put a spider tracer, or his own version of a spider tracer, had a hard time saying that, on his grandfather to basically watch over him. But right when he is able to find his grandfather, well, that is the moment the building begins to kind of come apart. And the question is, why in the world the building is coming apart? Well, the reason why, because Mike Gargan, aka the Scorpion, is there. And now the big question is, why in the world the Scorpion's here to basically protect Miguel O'Hara's grandfather? Now, the reason why Scorpion is here in this country is because Alchemax knew that Triberus would need some kind of protection. And so, of course, they did hire the Scorpion as a way to protect him. And so with Triberus getting kidnapped by this new organization that is trying to overthrow this government, of course, the Scorpion had to move in. Now, Spider-Man 2099 in his record books, he heard that Scorpion was really not a big deal. Of course, those record books are wrong, because when it comes to Scorpion, he is easily one of the top 10, top 15, wherever you want to put him as a Spider-Man villain, especially when he became the second or third Venom. But either way though, you do have Spider-Man 2099 try to fight against the Scorpion, which is a challenge even for Peter Parker, who have fought against Scorpion a million times over the years in Marvel Comics. But either way, as their battle is going on, you do have Spider-Man 2099 get out of the building to get away from the building falling apart. But when he does get outside the building, well, that is the moment Scorpion tells him that he had brought a bunch, and I mean a bunch, of Spider Slayers with them. And let's not forget, the Spider Slayers were originally made to hunt down Spider-Man. And so right now in their programming, they are made to hunt down Spider-Man, which right now there's one Spider-Man right in front of them. Now, when we jump into the 4th chapter of this book, and actually the final chapter of this book, we do pick up with Miguel O'Hara, aka Spider-Man 2099, trying to fight against both Scorpion and the Spider Slayers, which is a huge challenge for him, because the Spider Slayers have gave Peter Parker a lot of trouble over the years, and so did Scorpion. And so now you're talking about both of these two things things being here at the same time, fighting against Spider-Man 2099. Now, he has been Spider-Man for a good period of time, but at the same time, he was not around to fight against Scorpion over the years. He was not around to fight against the Spider Slayers over the years, because again, he is from the year 2099. This is all new to him, and he's realizing how much Peter Parker had to go through over the years in Marvel Comics. On top of that, the Spider Slayers will not miss because they are set and programmed to basically kill anything or anyone in a spider suit. And right now, Miguel O'Hara is in a spider suit. And so all of these guys are shooting at him to kill. Now, this is where we get into the turning point for Triberis. And the reason why I say that is because, remember, he was captured by a new organization that is trying to throw the government in the country that Miguel O'Hara and his grandfather are in. But of course, the leader of this new organization was going to kill Triberis because he was trying to sell Spider Slayers to this country. But when the Scorpion attacked the building they were holding him in, the building began to fall apart, and the building is still falling apart, and Triberis is tied up thanks to our lovely new organization. Now, the leader of the group, this older lady, she does see that part of the building is going to fall on top of Triberis, and so she used her body as a way to protect him. Now, this is why I say we begin the process of seeing a change in Triberis, because right after she was able to save him, well, he was able to break free. But that is the moment he sees that she was killed by some debris. And so with her being dead, he realized what his actions have caused, which is that with him trying to sell Spider Slayers to a government that is so corrupt in this country that they were going to use the Spider Slayers on their own people, he realized why Miguel O'Hara was saying this was wrong. He realized that his actions are wrong, that his actions have caused all of these problems, but he is able to walk away freely. Now, the story begins to wind down when you have Miguel O'Hara remember why the world the Spider Slayers are able to keep track of him, because he is wearing a spider outfit, but his spider outfit is really a hologram. And so what he does next is he goes right over to Scorpion, and he puts his hologram device on the back of Scorpion, and he tells his Layla system to basically put the Scorpion in a hologram system to make Scorpion look like Peter Parker Spider-Man. And so when that happens, all of the Spider Slayers begin to attack the Scorpion instead of Miguel O'Hara. And that is how you have Miguel O'Hara being able to actually defeat the Scorpion. Now, while you have all of the Spider Slayers shooting down on Scorpion, that is the moment you have Triberis use a phrase to shut down all of the Spider Slayers. And so that is the moment everything is finally winding down, but the story is still not over just yet. Now, to wrap up this story, you do have Triberis and Miguel O'Hara meet up with the leader of the government who is trying to use the Spider Slayers against his own people. Now, he still thinks that he is going to get the Spider Slayers, but he has no idea that Miguel O'Hara's grandfather, Triberis, had actually changed his mind, beginning to turn good as it seems right here, because you do have Triberis walk into the room and say that the deal is off, that he will no longer be able to actually get any Spider Slayers to use on their own people, because again, this country government wanted the Spider Slayers to use against their own people, to control their people. But now you have Miguel O'Hara's grandfather say, no, We cannot let that happen. So the deal is off. You are no longer going to be able to actually get any spider slayers to use against your own people. And matter of fact, he kicks the leader out of the house of the government to kind of free the government or free the country from this warlord. And this is where we are going to end today's comic book video. And so I kind of like Spider-Man 2099 a lot. And so I might continue to cover more of his books if the video does well. But either way, I do hope you enjoyed today's comic book video. Later, guys.